Welcome to the Defense and Aerospace Report. I'm Vago Muradian at the 8th Halifax International Security Forum in Nova Scotia, Canada, and we're honored to have with us the Supreme Allied Commander Transformation, French Air Force General Denis Mercier. Sir, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, good morning, and I'm very happy to be here in Halifax and to have this possibility to talk with you.
I'm honored, sir. Thanks very much. When we spoke in January, obviously the geopolitical situation was a little bit different. The election picture was a little bit different. You're the senior-most NATO officer in the United States. You've been watching the debate. Your headquarters is in Norfolk, also home to the world's largest naval base. What are from a NATO officer standpoint, what are the concerns and what are some of the things that, are expectations of the new government that's going to be coming into the United States?
In fact, what we have seen in Warsaw is a renewed commitment from our allies who are stationed in America, located in America, USA and Canada, a renewed commitment to have heavy forces stationed in Europe, especially for the reassurance measures. And for US, there is this strong commitment of deploying permanently a very heavy armored brigade that will be stationed in different places in Europe and moving. And this commitment was important because this commitment led the European to do the same. And I think that in this way, I do not see that there will be any change, in fact, because if there would be any change, it would be a big strategic shock for Europe. And I think that this commitment of US have really re-energized the alliance. And for me, I'm stationed, as you mentioned, I'm the only NATO headquarters stationed in USA. So I'm very keen on continuously developing the transatlantic link, and we have a huge interaction with the U.S. authorities, and that's very important for the interoperability. And this is what we are building, and this is what NATO can afford to U.S. is how we continue to develop the interoperability of our systems, of our people, so we can be together if necessary and fight together from day one. And I think that. Just for this idea, I don't see that there will be a big change.
Your view is that the practical benefits outweigh any potential, damaging it would be a very bad idea.
Yeah, exactly. Because again, we have built Warsaw and we have built the unity of our alliance, and a renewed commitment to collective defense mission, and on this commitment by nations in Europe, by nations by US and Canada, and if there was a change, it would be as I mentioned, a huge shock.
You took command September before last, so it's almost been a year and a half that you've been in, a little more than a year that you've been in command. You had a whole series of very ambitious priorities. Walk us through some of your top priorities and the progress you've made in the last year.
We have some principles that drive the transformation of the alliance, and these principles are how we look at the future, but look at the future is to assess what we do today. And for me, Warsaw was really an historical summit because what has changed very recently, in Warsaw they said the strategic concept of the alliance is still valid, which means the three core tasks the alliance has to fulfill are still valid, which is collective defense, cooperative security, and crisis management. However, what has changed is the huge interrelation of those core tasks, and that calls for a renewed posture for our alliance, and especially focusing on responsiveness. And this is exactly what we worked on. But responsiveness has to meet some basic principles. Some of the principles are how we network our forces all together and with partners, and with a huge number of partners, and partners as nations, other international organizations, or even NGOs, or or academia, and because there is no one organization in the complex world that we have today. There is no one organization that can meet all the challenges on its own, and this network is absolutely necessary. The second one is how we build a structure that is agile. And this is exactly what we have in mind when we build especially the command and control structure, because this is the basis of our military capability, really, our command and control structure, even on the political and military side. And then we need to be strategically aware. Strategically aware, that means that we need more than before. Try to identify the early sign of a crisis, and detect them, identify them, and if we can, attribute responsibilities. Which means that this early sign of crisis may be even in the Pacific. So we have to keep that in mind. When we are talking about the Pacific area, for instance, this is not because NATO intends to have an operation in this area, but everything is interrelated in our world, and this complexity calls for a huge networking. And in that sense, Canada and US, because of their opening to the Atlantic area and the Pacific area, are really key players.
And obviously, I mean, if for example there is a North Korean attack either on Canada or the United States, then Article 5 gets triggered, and all of a sudden, European countries that never plan to work in the Pacific end up in the Pacific.
All cases may happen, and this is our military task to look at all these possibilities. But I'm not thinking about Article 5. I'm really thinking about situation awareness.
Right. Sir, thanks very, very much.
Thank you, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk to you and to present some of the ideas we have.